Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and on today's episode of Living With, I've been living with the 2026 Lexus RZ450e luxury all-wheel drive. This is the all-electric Lexus. And for some of you, you may have already discounted this car because when Toyota came out with BZ4X, the range was a bit dismal. This car in its original form, I think, was under 200 miles of range, 196 if I'm not mistaken, but now they have adjusted, they have corrected, and they've increased this version of it to about 257 miles. Still nowhere near best in class, but manageable for the realistic EV owner. Now, there are other options that could get you up to 400 miles of range, and you've also got to remember that 257 means 100% charge, start to finish. You're probably only charging to about 80, so you're looking still at around that 200 miles of range of usable battery, which is probably realistically fine for most people. Now, I've had this for the last couple of days. I've been driving it to the gym. I haven't really needed to charge it just because I'm only doing sort of 10, 15 mile stints, but so far, I've kind of enjoyed the driving experience, and that's what I want to focus on today, because there are good things about this. If you're out because of the range, you're already out, but for those of you who are sticking around and curious about what it's actually like as a car, this one is for you. So style-wise, it's kind of funny. I'm watching the Luce come out, and I'm seeing this diving nose, and I actually think this looks a little better than the Ferrari, if I'm being honest. It doesn't have the Apple car look, but around back, the thing that struck me most when I was looking at it from my window into the driveway, looking down on it, these guys, those remind me of FK8 Civic Type R. Now, today, I'm actually taking this out because I'm using it as an car. Look at that. I've got the bike in the back, classic Tedward move, and plenty of room with these rear seats folded down. I just think that this is a reasonable size SUV, but it doesn't really feel like an SUV because it's not big. It doesn't have RX vibes to it. It feels a bit lower. It feels more car-like, just a little bit bulbous for a car. In here, we have, of course, our Lexus first aid kit over there, but in here, we've got our adapters because these cars have now moved on to NACS for their standard setup. So if you're going to charge at a CCS or a J1772, you're going to need these bad boys. Most people who have like level 2 charging at their home probably going to be using those adapters quite a bit. The times they are a-changin' when it comes to charging. So now this is what you'd find on any Tesla supercharger. Now, it doesn't charge all that fast, 150 kilowatts. Again, nothing on this car really screams best in class in terms of EV performance or that kind of stuff, but it's still a Lexus, so I'm really looking forward to showing you what it's actually like to live with and drive. Being the luxury version, this one's on the 20-inch wheels, and it has a 235 section tire. These door handles are like the new Lexus style. They don't actually pull that. There's just a button in there. When you do get out of the car, you push this. But what I like about it is, remember that guy who got stuck in the Corvette? I mean, it was actually very tragic. I'm not making light of that whatsoever. But you do need to have a proper mechanical linkage to get out. And so this one does have that. And I really like that it's on the same switch and you don't have to go hunting for it somewhere else. That's very clever. Interior's fantastic. I'm loving these seats. They're Alcantara. They're ventilated. They're heated. They feel really good. Obviously, you're getting all kinds of nice lumbar support and electric controls. Pretty standard stuff for the Lexus world, but you got to remember, this thing costs just under $58,000, which frankly, not that much in terms of the kind of luxury you get out of a Lexus, plus being an electric vehicle. Sometimes these things can get really, really pricey. So I do have to say, you may complain about range, you may complain about power, 308 horsepower, fast enough, under 5 seconds to 60, but it's not the most expensive thing in the world if you're looking for that Tesla alternative that maybe puts you at the dealership you like, because Lexus dealers, good Lord, is it wonderful. When I go to get my oil changed on my GX460, it's the only car I've ever used a dealership for, because the service experience is fantastic. Now, you don't have to get oil changes on this, but even on the doors, you get this lovely Alcantara. It's pretty sweet. The fit and finish, On the interior, the first thing you interact with is this supple leather steering wheel. Dare I say it's too supple? It's really, really nice. It's one of the nicest steering wheels I've ever felt in any car. Power button. And my biggest complaint about this infotainment screen, or the dashboard screen really, is that it's blurry. It's got like this anti-glare matte finish on it, and it looks like you should be able to peel off some protective layer, but that is in fact what it looks like. There's no crispiness to any of these pixels. And it took me a minute. I actually thought my eyes were going bad. I thought, uh-oh. Then you look at this screen, super clear. You look at the heads-up display, super clear. It's just that screen. I wish that was really crispy and clear. Because we're in the luxury edition, you get these nice dual pane glass, so it's really quiet in here, or at least it should be. But we actually got to get out of here and get on the road, down and over for drive, because I am going cycling with my buddy Eddie Tepper, one of my favorite car enthusiasts because he has the coolest collection of cars. He's got a 430 Scuderia in blue with all these cool carbon bits. That always wins awards. But he also loves Dodge. So he's got an SRT Hellcat Durango. He's got a TRX. I mean, it's like he totally gets it when it comes to diversification in your collection, if you can afford it. Not much to write home about. It just does what it's supposed to do. It's fast enough. It's smooth enough. It does feel a little heavy, which is kind of strange just because I don't think this is a massive battery pack. It's like 71 kilowatt hours. Warning me, it's like, hey, you don't want to do that. I had the power for it, but if the car says no, we'll listen to you, old Lexus. We can make this one. Ultra smooth. Sunroof. Okay, there's no sunshade, but you get an electrochromatic guy here, so you can turn it on and off. I wish it went a little darker. It gets mighty warm in here. We currently have 188 miles of range. We've only got to go about 40 miles to where we are going to start our little bike ride. Got paddles for regen. This is wonderful. This is something that all automakers need to be doing. This doesn't have some true one-pedal drive, but similar to the way Honda does it, which I really like, and even Chevrolet with their little regen paddle, I like it when you can just adjust how much regen you get when you lift off the throttle. And I think this is great. So despite only having that 71 kilowatt hour battery, this seemingly does pretty reasonable in terms of actual efficiency. Something that we overlook a lot with EVs is the efficiency of the drive. We very easily talk about miles per gallon on internal combustion engines. If I said 20 versus 30 versus 50, you very much know what I'm talking about. However, with EVs, we often only talk about them in terms of their overall range. But what does that mean? What if we only talked about internal combustion engine cars in terms of their range? Like, that wouldn't tell you anything. That would, if we're not talking about how big the fuel tank is, who cares if it's 800 miles? What if you got to put 40 gallons of fuel in your car to get there? That's not cheap. Same goes with EVs. You've got the capacity of your gas tank, your battery, which is going to be kilowatt hours. And then you've got the use. How many miles do you get per kilowatt hour? So the most efficient in the game, as far as I know right now, is still probably Lucid. They can manage about 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and that is quite impressive. The least efficient somewhere in the GM realm with their Silverado EV or Sierra EV or Hummer EV. They're in the 1.2 miles per kilowatt hour range. I think they can bust out up to 2 in certain circumstances, but I'll tell you, when you're actually driving them, especially on the highway, you are going to be using a lot of energy fast. This one, I don't actually know what it's rated for, but I went to the gym yesterday and I was getting 4.6. EVs are much more efficient around town in doing this low speed stuff, because once they have to start fighting air on the highway, that is when things get very ugly. So we're going to do that right now. Right now we're doing 3.3. I would love to see this somewhere in the 3.5 to 4.5 range. That's a big truck. We're going to let him go. Got a nice long ramp here, so we don't have to take any risks and make him do anything he doesn't want to do. Oh, good. Rocks. Zippy. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make with EVs is staring at specs. It's why I wanted to take you on a real-world drive in this vehicle, because some of you are already out and you may not even watch this because you're like, nope, I need 400 miles of range. And like, that's totally valid if that's really what you need. However, some of you are looking for alternatives because maybe you don't want a Tesla, maybe you don't like the build quality of a Tesla, maybe you just love your Lexuses, you've got RXs, you've had LSs, and you're looking for something within that brand to fill the spot. There's more to cars than their numbers. Oh, look at that. Another RZ. I haven't seen very many of these on the road. Now, how come his charge port is on the left? I think mine's on the right. Maybe I have to check. This color, by the way, I forgot to tell you, it's called Ether. Ether. That is not the name I anticipated for this beautiful shade of blue. I genuinely believed that this would be some like Lamborghini level of color code naming. It's so gorgeous. Kind of looks like that, honestly, but a little better. Ether, the stuff they used to knock you out for surgery. Well, 100 years ago. Wow, okay, this car is really easy to go fast in. I genuinely did not know I was going 80. I would prefer to be going about 75, and that's where we're gonna sit. Oh boy. I like EVs because you can make very fast changes. I don't have to think, oh, my transmission's lagging behind, or my turbo hasn't spooled up on my small displacement engine because the EPA says that we need these little tiny engines now. Moves in traffic can be made like that. So what am I telling you? You've driven EVs before. I do wish that this was not on the screen. Climate controls 100% of the time should always be their own independent buttons, or at least redundant buttons. Now, you do get these guys for the dual zone climate controls to touch and adjust, and that's good. I just would prefer that my fan speed and my seat controls were all there as well. They did, however, give me the correct buttons for my mirrors. That's wonderful. Drives me nuts when controls like steering wheel adjustment and mirrors are in the infotainment screen. Completely inappropriate and inexcusable, frankly, because that's a safety issue in my opinion. Anything that needs to be adjusted on the fly should be accessible with its own button, especially when it comes to visibility or drivability. That is why, even down here on the HVAC controls, you can hit front and it will immediately help you clear your windscreen if you were in that situation that you needed to defog. You don't want to have to look for things like that. And I know I've fielded the comments where people say, well, you should be adjusting your mirrors and your seat and your steering wheel before you drive. And that's true. I do. But sometimes you get out on the road and what you saw in those mirrors in a parking lot or your driveway or your parking space is not the complete picture. You can get 90% of the way there, but sometimes you got to make some fine adjustments after the fact. Just the way she goes. Take the long way. Visibility is so good, and you can tell it was not an afterthought. You can tell it was a focal point of this vehicle because the nose drops so sharply that I can't see the hood or from where I'm sitting right now. So I just see the ground. That's the kind of stuff that you usually only see from a McLaren. Great visibility out of the rest of the vehicle too. Even the rear has good visibility. But I also have this camera. I will say though, having been in the new Telluride, the next generation of the one in front of us, and other Kias recently, they have really upped their camera game, and this resolution is no longer really, it's acceptable, but it's not impressive. When you see the resolution of the cameras that you're getting from the Koreans right now in pretty inexpensive vehicles, it just begs the question, why isn't everybody doing this? It's kind of bonkers because it doesn't seem like that heavy of a lift to get a 4K camera or something in the back of the car. TSX wagon is always sitting here. It's identical to the one my dad drove for quite a few years. Those are fantastic cars, but a little underpowered. Had so many people go head on with me in situations like that recently where they just take the lane despite the fact that they don't have the right of way. You'd think people in New England would know how to use a rotary. Ooh, gorgeous E-Class convertible. So there are EV chargers here. I don't need them, but there's our boy. Howdy.
Oh, there he is.
All right, check this out. I have something for you.
Is this an EV, by the way?
It is.
Okay, good. I was worried we were gonna get iced out of parking. Oh my god.
The TRX hat.
You don't want it?
That's yours.
Dude, thank you.
Dude, you're like, who better to have a TRX hat?
That's amazing. It's Carhartt too. Like,
Exactly.
They know their customers so
Exactly. Now it's got the T-Rex on it.
I know, too. Well, that's how they said it's a new car, right?
It's
SRT TRX.
It's
now.
so good. I had the best time cycling with my friend Eddie, but now we're back in the RZ, and I'm ready to conclude with some final thoughts on this driving experience. Because when I first got in this thing, there were a few gripes I had that were kind of ruining my experience. I was really bummed out about this screen right here being a little bit of a matte finish. It's not crisp. I thought like my eyes were maybe blurry or something, and I didn't like that. I also, this shifter, it's a little funky. It's fine, you adapt to it, but I kind of wish the park button was up here, so it was all one thing instead of this extra button up here. Down to go to drive, down and over to go to reverse. The cameras are fine. They're not the highest quality thing in the world, and I think the Koreans are starting to show up the Japanese on the camera front It beeps incessantly. It will beep and beep and beep while you're in reverse, just like the LFA, so take that for what you will. Maybe that's a heritage thing. But the cameras are mounted a little low. I wish that reverse camera was mounted up a little bit higher on the top of the vehicle instead of in the center. Speed. It's got enough of it. You do not need 700 horsepower EVs. This is a perfectly quick vehicle, 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. That's all you need to have. And I will tell you, this steering wheel, best in the game, dude. If you put this steering wheel in a Bentley, I would not complain. Like, that's how soft and wonderful this leather feels. I'm really into it. And it does go to make this thing feel incredibly premium, but that's the thing. There are certain items in this car that maybe don't feel super modern or like ultra fancy. Maybe the UX in certain aspects, like even this, when I go to use this on the steering wheel controls, you get that on the heads-up display, and I can select my song or my phone, and I can flip it around and change it to mode, and I can do the same thing over here with my cruise control. But you know what? It doesn't matter because it's functional. And the second I touch it, it's easy to use, and I love it. And you know, it doesn't need to have the most fancy font in the world just to get my attention. The other thing is, on the highway, this has been a real pleasure to drive because it is ultra quiet. It does exactly what a Lexus is meant to do, and partially due to the fact that we've got, like I said earlier, the double pane glass. This just takes away so much road noise. It takes away any imperfections that you would otherwise hear. And that's important, especially in an EV, because if you have any rattles or any road noise, any tire noise in an EV, boy, do you notice it. Because you don't have an engine covering up that noise with the white noise. But even just the way the doors open and close, it feels very Lexus. It feels proper. The interior back here, I want to show you these rear seats because they do look a little grandma's couch because they're all Alcantara. They are, however, incredibly comfortable and supportive. And look at all this legroom. And on the outboards, 3-stage heated seats. We love to see stuff like this. Also, nice armrest with some cup holders. I would be very happy to sit back here for hours on end. I think it's a pretty cozy place, tons of headroom. And not to mention, although this is not a sunroof that retracts, it is a moonroof or a glass roof, however you'd like to say, with no screen. However, what it does have is this electrochromatic guy. So let's see if I can get in a position. Look at that. It's like a Dreamliner. I don't know if you've been on a 787, but it doesn't have window shades. It's got these guys. And for New England, I think this is great. If you are in Arizona, Nevada, Southern California, you still may want the sunshade. You still might want the actual shade that blocks it all because, boy, it can get really hot. But it has a wonderful HVAC system and it does the job. And back here, you get proper vents, as it should. I mean, this is a premium vehicle with outboard USB-C chargers. In the back, when there's no bike in it, there's that rear view camera. Look, it's got a tonneau cover, which is actually kind of clever because I took it off so I could put my bike there. And it folds up, and it's not this really cumbersome, goofy thing like I've got in my GX that folds out. This is actually really nice to have back here and not have to worry about, oh no, now I've got to go drop that off at the house or it's taking up space. No, you can just throw it here and it's good to go. The lighting design is pretty clever. I think it still says Lexus. I actually really like the design of this thing. I think it's relatively handsome. And finally, now that I don't have cargo, precious cargo, in the car, let's go out and do a couple little accelerations. I'll show you what this thing can do. Now, Lexus do make a performance variant of this, a higher end one, the RZ450e. You get more power, you lose out on range. I don't know that that's a worthy trade-off because the range is already a pretty precious resource in this, and to go lower might get frustrating. And also, I don't think the performance is worthy of the reduction in range because it still doesn't put you on par with what we would consider performance EVs. God, I love the way they've transitioned from regen to calipers, though. They've really perfected this. And it's worth noting because Porsche has not yet figured this out, but Toyota really does know what they're doing when it comes to regen. Look at that suspension. Now, I do think over some of those little bumps, it translates some unpleasantness into the cabin that I would prefer not to feel. However, on long drives out on the highway, this suspension is sprung and damped quite well. It feels premium. It does. I'm giving this more credit than I was anticipating because even in the first few minutes of driving it, I was just like, I don't know if I get this. The longer I spent with it, the more I kind of understood its purpose. And again, I can't defend its low range and that maybe Toyota's not quite up to par in the EV game, but this is a pretty darn good shot at a reasonably priced luxury EV. I also like that it's not like full-blown SUV. It's a little small. It's more like Venza than it is RX. Let's get this HVAC going. I'm getting a little warm in here. Let's see. Now I'm a little confused because I don't know where my seats went. Where's my ventilated seats? There used to be buttons here. Car? There we go. Okay. That's what I wanted. See, I don't like it when things like that go away. I don't want to hunt for things. I know that if I drove the car for a long time, I would just know. But I don't want to hunt. I just want it to be there. I want my buttons to be there. You know, a leg up this has on, let's say, the Lyriq. The Lyriq is incredibly comfortable. It feels like a limousine. It doesn't really seem to want to take a corner. This still has really good drivability in that way. I'm being a little ham-fisted just to see how it applies power with a little bit of steering lock, and it's definitely interrupting power, but not in an aggressive way. It's like letting it flow where it needs to go. There's a tiny hint of wheel spin. Be curious to see how that behaves with the front-wheel drive variant of this, because that's going to have a lot more trouble getting off the line with full lock. So, final thoughts on the RZ450. I think if you separate the car from it being an EV, this is a wonderful car. It is luxurious, it is quiet, it is well damped. I think the interfaces maybe have some old looking styles and fonts, and maybe I want a little more out of the vehicle information on this front. But it's so easy to use, it's so intuitive to operate that it's hard to fault it. The touch points are A+. I mean, this, I know I've said it 100 times, but this leather wrapped wheel is like really, really nice, and it's the correct size. I like the steering feel. It's just the amount of feedback I want for a vehicle like this, where I don't need to feel every pebble in the road, but I do want to feel something. They nailed the luxury thing, and that's what I think Lexus actually does well. Where it falls short is really just as an EV. It's adequate power, plenty of power. And it does that part well. Power application, great. Regen, great. Efficiency, like genuinely impressed. I mean, right on this trip, we've done 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. I know we're just driving around town, but I did 4 on my way home from cycling, and that had some highway. So they've definitely got efficiency up their sleeve in this thing, and that doesn't go unnoticed for me. Where they fall short, charge speed, 150 kilowatts. That's really just not on par with the current state of the EV market, where some are charging 350 or 400. That's gotta be a consideration for whatever they do going forward. The range, look, it is what it is. You take it or leave it. Most people can get away with this, and if you just don't have the range anxiety, you'll be fine. But it would be nice to see a solid, comfortable 300-mile range out of this. That would probably increase sales quite a bit. But otherwise, it's a Lexus, it's an EV, it's pretty efficient. I'm really actually kind of liking it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So anyway, yeah, is it perfect? No, but you should definitely consider this if it's kind of within the realm of what you're looking for. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.